Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into a fascinating and honestly incredibly practical concept that totally redefines how we think about earning a living. We're looking at the three-block staircase to true financial stability. And listen, this isn't just about asking for a raise or job hopping for a better salary. It's about building a solid system that absolutely does not depend on a single fragile paycheck. So if you've ever felt that creeping anxiety about what would happen if your main source of income just vanished overnight, you are definitely going to want to stick around for this one.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our game plan for today. We'll be hitting the single paycheck trap. Stage 1, active income. Stage 2, semi-passive income. Stage 3, passive income. And finally, wrap it up with your 3-step action plan.
All right, starting with section 1, the single paycheck trap. We're looking at the fragility of relying on just one source of income.
Let's look at a tale of two paths. Imagine Alex on one side and Daniel on the other. Both of these guys work incredibly hard, and honestly, they bring home about the exact same amount of money. But here's the catch. When Alex checks his bank account, he sees one number, a number with only one owner, his employer. If he gets sick or the company downsizes, that number drops straight to 0. So yeah, he's understandably stressed out all the time. Daniel, on the other hand, sees 3 different numbers flowing in, one from his day job, one from a small business he started a few years back, and one from his investments. When Daniel's boss even mutters the word layoffs, Daniel sleeps like a baby. Why? Because his financial risk just isn't concentrated in one single place.
And that brings us to a really profound realization. The size of an income and the fragility of that income are two completely different things. Almost nobody separates those two concepts when they're making life plans. Let me give you an example from our source material. Think about a guy named Matthew. Now, Matthew spent 15 years grinding up the corporate ladder. He earned a fantastic salary, but his fatal flaw was assuming that the higher he climbed, the safer he was. Actually, the higher he climbed, the more expensive he became to his company. So when restructuring rolled around, his high-paying role was a prime target. His high earnings absolutely did not protect him from high risk.
So really put this into perspective, just look at this stark statistic from the Federal Reserve. A massive share of the population in the United States literally cannot cover an unexpected $400 expense without either borrowing money or selling something. Just $400. This isn't just a problem of people not earning enough cash, it's a structural problem of how many pillars are actually holding up their lives. When you only have one single foundational support, one unexpected blow can just bring the whole house down.
Moving on to stage 1, active income. This is the necessary foundation. Now, according to data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, relying on a single job is the starting point for almost all of us. By definition, active income depends directly on you being physically present. It's your salary, it's your hourly fees, or your small business if you're the one unlocking the front door every single morning. So the crucial point is, if you don't show up, that money disappears completely. Now, to be clear, we aren't saying active income is a bad thing. It's absolutely essential. You literally cannot build anything without a solid base. But check out this thought. A foundation isn't a house. If you stop there, you're always one bad piece of news away from a real problem. Think back to the 2008 financial crisis. So many families lost their primary active income, their jobs, at the exact same moment their home values plummeted. It proved that risk concentration amplifies the damage when the economy shifts. Active income is a fantastic foundation for sure, but it makes for an incredibly drafty, dangerous house if you never bother to build the walls and the roof. That brings us to stage 2. Semi-passive income, building the bridge. This stage is the crucial bridge. This is exactly where our character Daniel made a small, seemingly boring decision to break away from Alex's stressful path. We call this the breaking point income. Notice that it initially requires intense, active effort. Listen, I want to shatter a major internet myth right now. The whole idea of passive income from day one, where you just push a button on your laptop and make money on a beach. Yeah. That's almost never true. This stage requires real sacrifice. You might be giving up your Saturday mornings for a little while. But the magic here is that over time, as you document processes and delegate out the tasks, the business demands less and less of your constant physical presence. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're talking about. Consider these highly effective, completely unglamorous local service businesses. Property maintenance, commercial cleaning, scrap metal collection, picking up laundry, painting parking lot lines. You are definitely not going to see influencers doing TikTok dances about pet waste removal, but these are the exact businesses that generate real, reliable surplus money. The contrast here is night and day. Flashy trend businesses might offer fast money, sure, but they rely entirely on passing consumer moods and have a super high risk of just vanishing overnight. Boring service businesses, however, solve a recurring necessity. Reports from the U.S. Small Business Administration and IBIS World consistently back this up. Even in economic downturns, people still need their commercial spaces cleaned, right? They still need their properties maintained. The barrier to entry is lower, the competition isn't as emotionally driven, and the demand is just remarkably steady. Now, a quick warning. When people first learn about this, their absolute first instinct is to try and do it all at once. They want to get a promotion at their active job, start a side hustle, and become a day trader all in the exact same weekend. Guys, order matters. You must first stabilize the base, then build the bridge, and use the surplus from that bridge as a seed. If you try to skip steps or build all three streams at once from scratch, it almost always ends in massive burnout and a total collapse of everything you've built. Next up is stage 3. Passive income, planting your independence. So once you have that bridge built and generating a healthy surplus, you are finally ready for this final block. True passive income is exactly what it sounds like. It is an asset that works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, completely independent of your physical presence. It literally never asks for a vacation. Daniel achieved this by taking the surplus cash from his boring weekend service business and patiently investing it. This totally echoes Benjamin Graham's philosophy from The Intelligent Investor. The true investor isn't out there chasing thrills. They are chasing sustainable, long-term results through diversified instruments like dividend stocks or well-managed real estate. This timeline visualizes how the mechanism actually works in real life. Census Bureau data shows us over and over that time in the market matters far more than finding the perfect, lucky entry point. Right now, you invest that initial seed. In a couple of years, you start seeing a steady monthly income that requires zero physical effort. And in 10+ years, that is when patient compounding interest kicks in, acting as the literal engine that builds considerably greater wealth. It's not magic, it's just time, plus consistency, plus patience. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the secret to actually funding that timeline. George S. Clason wrote this generations ago. Pay your future self first before spending on anything else. Look, most people spend first and invest whatever is left over, which, let's be honest, is usually nothing. To build this final block, you have to automate this step. Before you spend a single dime of the surplus from your semi-passive business, you route it straight into your investments. Done. Okay, let's wrap this up with your 3-step action plan, taking you from an active worker to financially secure. Let's move to and see how this builds into something you can actually execute this week. We've covered the theory and the structure. Now let's translate it into a concrete framework. Step 1, secure your base. Figure out exactly what your living costs are and optimize that active paycheck. Build an emergency fund so that foundation is rock solid. Step 2, build your bridge. Find one unglamorous skill you can leverage on the weekends. Remember Matthew? He just started doing Saturday morning consulting. Step 3, plant your independence. Take a portion of that weekend money and invest it immediately. Like financial author Morgan Housel points out, consistent, boring behavior will always beat inconsistent brilliance. I absolutely love this quote from Jacob Lund Fisker. Financial independence isn't a sudden event. It's the silent accumulation of boring decisions sustained over years. We really need to manage expectations here and dispel those overnight success myths floating around social media. Daniel didn't do this in a month. It took him over 2 years to build this coordinated architecture of 3 income streams. But because he put in that time, a problem at his main job is now just a minor footnote for him, rather than a 5-alarm emergency. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. People always want to know exactly how much money will I have in 5 years if I start this process today. But honestly, that's the wrong question. The real question is, how much will you have in 5 years if you never start? Waiting for the perfect moment to begin carries a massive psychological and financial cost. The difference between fragility and freedom isn't luck, it is simply deciding to take that very first step on the staircase. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this vital concept, and I really hope it empowers you to start building your own solid foundation